Onision. Boy, do we have a lot to unpack here. Warning, this is not for children. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I have been apprehensive about covering Onision. I think I've made like 2 videos about him in the past, but I haven't extensively covered him because it would just be so much to unpack. But I was watching creator influencer Mike and Actor, and he had said something about how more people that have a platform needs to speak out against this person because YouTube's doing absolutely nothing about him. And I thought, you know what? He's right. So, I know the last time I did a video on Onision, a lot of you had never heard of him, which may be a good thing. So, for those of you that don't know who Onion Boy is, Onision, Greg Jackson, also known as James Jackson, he has been a creator on the platform since 2009, with 1.59 million subscribers on his Onision Speaks channel. Though he barely cracks 300,000 views per video, and a lot of them are hate watch. People hate watching. For good reason. This guy basically lives his life and does his channel almost like he's on his own reality show, in a way. He got real big over a song called I'm a Banana. A lot of other videos that seem to be aimed at younger people, things giving relationship advice, psychological advice, and as Mike and Actor put it, he sort of weaponizes popular topics of younger people. People have been speaking out about Onision for years, about him being a groomer. And I can't say the word because if I ever do get monetized, it will get me demonetized. But the P word, to be a pred, you get what I'm talking about? But he's very, very careful about it. He started showing that he was problematic a long time ago, years ago, with over a string of several girlfriends, like his ex Shiloh, who is actually a Canadian pop star sensation, and he risked taking all of that away from her at one time. She had a grandma seizure at one point. Instead of taking her to the hospital, he recorded it and put it online. Yeah. He has a husband named Kai. Previously, she was a woman that went by Lanybot, but she has been transitioning to a man named Kai. And at first I used to feel sorry for Kai because he met her when she was like 17, took her to a state where it was legal to be intimate with her, and they became intimate, and shortly after they ended up getting married. But now it's also been coming out that Kai helps him groom these young women. Recently, a girl named Sarah came out about everything that had happened. Now, Sarah was a girl that was in trouble. She had become friends with Kai, aka Lanybot. And Lanybot wanted to help her get out of her situation. And they ended up getting guardianship over Sarah. Just to wait until she turned 18, have sex with her, and then kick her out after signing an NDA. An NDA that, from what's coming out, is not very legal. Well, due to people like Blair White and Mr. Repsion and Sarah, this ended up getting the attention, finally, of somebody who could do something about it, Chris Hansen. Yes, the Chris Hansen. And if you're not aware, Chris Hansen now has a presence on YouTube with a show called Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. And he has actually been going in depth trying to find out what's going on with Onision. He interviewed Blair White, he interviewed Mr. Epsilon, and several of his alleged victims. And I'm only saying alleged for legal reasons because no charges, as far as I know, have been brought upon him. And just story after story in these live stream interviews, which are all about an hour long. It's about the same story over and over again. Like of Shiloh, her being abused and manipulated, and he actually got her pregnant and would make her lay in the hallway sobbing while he pleased himself. And then this girl named Billy, which he had gotten my attention about a year or so before everything came out about Billy. I had made a video back then about how he had created a forum where he was having girls send in pictures of themselves. A lot of them were underage girls, where they'd write his name somewhere on their body, and then he would rate them in a video, like rate their body. And shortly after that, this girl named Billy came out and made a video. There was a huge breakup between them. Billy had been with Kai, supposed to have just been with Kai, but Onision manipulated the situation to where they were all three together. And when they broke up, she had basically gotten caught smoking marijuana by him with her best friend on New Year's. And Onision wanted to chain her up in his basement, shave her head, and tattoo a tramp stamp that said, "I am a liar," on her back. And then when she refused and her best friend got away from him, because her best friend was living there too, they were both isolated from different state, had no family or friends around. But when they had gotten away from him, he doxed her, talked about how she was smoking marijuana, pretty much threatening her with police over it, talking about how it's illegal in Washington State, and doxed her best friend, until they both made videos replying to him, begging him to leave them alone. And all of these girls, plus a few others, have been featured on Have a Seat with Chris Hansen. Like I said, their stories are just mind-boggling. It's about the same story over and over and over again. A few of the other girls have talked about how Kai has sent them inappropriate pictures while they were underage. Now, Chris Hansen recently, at the end of one of the interviews, let everyone know that he has been in touch with some of his FBI contacts, and that an official investigation is now underway. Thank you, Chris Hansen. That's all I can say about that, is thank you, Chris Hansen. But it's going to be really difficult because it seems like Onision's very, very careful. He's very, very careful taking these girls to states where he can be intimate with them legally, and doing things where he waits until they're 18, but he grooms them for years. And Kai grooms them for years. Some of these girls were talking about first contact with him, with Kai or Onision, at like age 12, 13. Things of that nature. And how they were groomed for pretty much all of that time. Finally, though, Onision did make a bit of a mistake, and he doxed, I believe it was Sarah, after her interview with Chris Hansen. He doxed one of the victims. I'm not sure which one. I believe it was supposed to be Sarah, though. If you know which one it was, please let me know down below. But I believe it was supposed to be Sarah. And Patreon seen that as bullying. And Patreon will cut you off whether or not you break their rules on Patreon or not. He supposedly did this on Twitter. So Patreon cut off his account. And after that, Onision lost his freaking mind. He has been posting rant after rant on his channel, like ripping his shirt off, pouring kabuki, whatever that is, I've never heard of it, all over himself, saying, "You got the paycheck, you got it." Sounding like he's trying to do an impression of Jim Carrey or something. Now, I get a lot of my information about him from Mike and Actor, and Mike and Actor used to be a fan of his a long time ago until he saw through his crap. Around the time, I believe he said it was around the time everything went down with Billy. He seems to think it's an act. I think it's somewhat of an act, but I think we are also seeing a lot of his mental illness bleeding through. Because in interview after interview after interview, each girl has talked about how there's something wrong with him and he needs to get help. And just leave women alone, period, because he's an abuser. And now in some of these videos, it seems Onision's trying to use that to his advantage, telling people they're making fun of mental illness. Well, yeah, I would say he's mentally ill. To me, he seems psychotic, like legit psychotic. But mental illness or not, if you do bad things and you're a bad person, you're a bad person. I'm sure a lot of people that are sitting in jail for murder or rape also has mental illnesses. Guess what? They're still paying for the bad things that they did. Mental illness does not give you an excuse to be a shitty person. Period. It just doesn't. As of now, YouTube is doing absolutely nothing about this. All his videos are still up. His channels are still up. He has more than one. His channels are still up. I've heard him state one time that he had up to like 7 channels. And a lot of people just doesn't know his other channels are him. But YouTube is doing absolutely nothing about this problem. Mainstream media is staying away from it. There was a UK paper that talked about him being a disgruntled Fortnite streamer, and that's not true at all. He is literally a groomer. Their mainstream media that has reported on it is downplaying the story or not looking into it very deeply. All except for Chris Hansen. He seems to be the only mainstream media that's taking this seriously. Now, I will give respects for Phil DeFranco. He recently did cover this. And I want to call out Keemstar, because a couple of weeks ago, literally 2 weeks ago, he was talking about how boring drama channels, all you see is Onision. And now, right after Phil DeFranco decided he was going to cover it, Keemstar starts tweeting about how Onision needs to be taken down. Just flipped on a dime. Just like that. Just like Mike and Actor had predicted he would do when he tweeted out about how Onision shouldn't be covered. Keem and Mike and Actor had like a bit of a spiff. Keemstar actually ended up commenting on Mike and Actor's video, talking about how it was boring. And now I'm predicting a Onision video coming in the future just because Phil DeFranco covered it, and everybody knows Phil DeFranco's Keem's biggest competitor. So yeah, if you guys see him cover this or you see that tweet on Twitter, just 2 weeks ago he was saying that no one should cover it, basically. Down in the comments of his tweet. Down in the comments of the tweet that I spoke about. Unless he's deleted that tweet, you can literally go back and read it for yourself. I'll see if I can find it and put it up here. This guy is just really creepy. He wrote a book, and I've seen someone review his book and talk about how it was supposed to be either about his children or the characters were supposed to have his children's names, and yes, he does have kids with Kai, and how the book was very sexually oriented, which I find really, really strange. Honestly, with everything that's going on and that's in his videos and his breakdowns and such, I do not see how he doesn't have Department of Children's Services in his house, or how he still has these kids. One of the victims that was interviewed by Chris Hansen actually talked about how when Kai was pregnant with a girl, she was freaking out and worried and bawling her eyes out because of how Onision treats women. That she was scared for her daughter. So, with that sort of information coming out, I do not see how DCS is not involved. But apparently, as far as we know, they're not. So yeah, I just wanted to make this video, do my part in letting people know about this guy. If you have children, make sure they are not watching this guy. He does gear a lot of his content towards preteens and teens. And it's to get in contact with them. It is literally to try to make contact and take advantage of them in order to groom them and bring them into his relationship with his wife/husband. So yeah, YouTuber really needs to do something about this. He needs to have his platform taken away. If ever we needed cancel culture to take effect, it's with this guy. It's with Onision. And I don't see how he still has a platform whatsoever. Oh, yeah, Chris Hansen had actually asked Onision to come on the show and give his side of the story. Onision said he would do it for $500,000. Just like Phil DeFranco reached out to him and tried to get a comment, and he said he would only answer questions for $10,000. You think someone that was innocent of all this and didn't want their name tarnished would speak their side for free and not given an unbelievable amount of money that they know will not be paid? But yeah, I'd like to know what you think about this subject. Have you ever heard of Onision? If you haven't, keep your kids away from this guy. If you have, I'd like to know what you think about all this down below. And just on the off chance that any of his victims see this video, I would like you all to know I am doing this with the utmost respect. And I hope that every single one of you got or gets the help that you need to move past this abuser. It was not your fault. This is all Greg. None of this had anything to do with you. This was a sick individual that took advantage of you, and I hope that you get the help that you need to move past it. So yeah. So for the rest of you, I will see you in my next video. I love you guys. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'm out. Peace.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.